Edge Radio Australia, we are live indeed. I know that. You know why I know that, Terry? It's a little red light that says we're live, right?
Oh my gosh.
I know. Look at the technology. It's amazing stuff.
So you're alive? Well, then that makes two of us, maybe.
Just the two of us. Just the two of us.
Yep.
Hey, obviously we're here for the genius and the lovely, the wonder, the super genius here right now, Terry Messenger. You're here.
Well,
You're ready,
you know, how much do I pay you to say that, Aaron?
Not enough.
Not enough.
No.
Okay.
We'll have to have a conversation about that later.
Well, I quite think this topic is going to be, you know, really hit home for a lot of people tonight.
Okay.
Because this is all about why the heck do our routines, our habits and our patterns fail miserably? Don't you love the total positivity of it all?
Look at you sell it. And like you're there with the laptop, so you immediately look far more official.
Oh,
okay.
I so do. Even though I can't even get can I put some glasses on?
Yeah.
I don't need glasses anymore. My eyes are healed.
They're healed.
Did I actually tell you that?
You did not.
I have had astigmatism since I was born.
Okay.
And I wore glasses since I was 5.
Wow.
And I went to the optometrist and he spent about an hour and a half with me. It was supposed to be 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then he was puzzled. He kept running out the room, coming back, running out of the room. In the end, I thought, this is it. I'm blind. He's going to now announce to me that I'm going blind.
Right.
Turns out that he said, you've got a medical phenomena.
No.
Your stigmatism has gone.
Get out of town.
I am not even joking.
Oh, I've got
Aaron.
lots of stigmas, but no stigmatism.
But do you know the funniest thing about it?
What's that?
You know, when I was telling the girl, you know, I said, oh, I don't know, my eyes are really bad. I can't see properly anymore.
Yeah.
And, of course, Edge Radio, being here, it was just so difficult, you know, to actually see anything on the screen.
Screen's all the way over there.
And she goes, Terry, you know, it's probably, you know, and I said, and then my eyes have improved. I can't understand it. She goes, it's because you're probably less stressed. You're probably calm. Your life is probably, you know, at that point where it's all together. I said, I've never been more stressed and more in chaos and more crisis in my whole life.
I love that. Absolutely love that. That is absolutely brilliant. I see, right, backstage we have a lovely lady who wishes to come on in a little bit. She's looking at us. She doesn't know what we're saying. Or maybe she does.
Oh.
Maybe yes, she does. I saw that.
She?
Look there.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, look. Did I notice the little eye movement there, the raise of the eyebrows? Now, we haven't got our cans on at the moment, so we can't actually hear you. So we'll get ourselves organised.
We will. We will indeed.
Because we're so well organised around here that I just found out we've got a guest.
Well, we don't actually have a guest as such. What it is that I have asked my community, because every week we prepare questions for the show and I go out to my community. So what I did this week, I said, who would like to come on live? Right. Now, let's just do a little bit of an intro so that we can, you know, just set the temperature here. Okay. And that is that we are talking about the saboteur versus the sage mind.
Please explain.
Okay, so the saboteur is that sabotaging mind when you wake up in the morning. You know, when you're feeling crap or if you feel,
it's a technical term.
You know, really technical. Like when you're having that, you're moving into that, oh my gosh, feeling type of thing where you feel bad. That's the sabotaging mind that's kicking in, right? And it becomes like a natural pattern. So what we're going to talk about today is how the normal, when I say normal person, we're all normal here, but someone who perhaps is not a, you know, subconscious coach or a counselor or anything like that can actually combat the sabotaging mind and move into the sage, which is the presence.
The presence, okay. I've never heard that term used in that way before, so that's interesting. I'm learning new things. It's very exciting. Now, okay, so today's subject, like just to, oh, hang on. Look at this, more people coming in. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Elaine's on 2 different formats. She really must want to come in. She's coming in stereo.
I reckon that she's one of my people. This lady.
Look, we love our people. This is important.
You know.
Now, you've got your cans on. I'm going to put my little sneaky little earplug thing in there so we can find out what's going on in the world. But do you want to give a little explanation, or a little bit of background about Elena, and then we'll get into it?
I will. So since we are not introducing Elena on this particular show as a coach, healer, leader, which she is, by the way, just putting it out there, she will come on the show one day, but she's coming on as a person who's going to ask a question regarding the sabotaging mind. So bring her on, I reckon.
Let's
just
do it.
bring her on.
There we go. There she is.
Hey. Hey. And, you know, I always had this little bit of a fetish of being able to say.
This is not that kind of show. That can wait for later. Come on.
I always had a little bit of a fetish around getting people's names right, especially if it was complex.
Right.
And I can remember having a boyfriend in grade 3. It was a bit old to be getting boyfriends, I know, but his name was, I don't know him anymore, Fabrizio Macaluso.
What a great name.
And so what a cracker. So when you see the beautiful Elena here, you know, it's not just Elena, but let me say Yiliana. Now, did I say that right, Yiliana?
Well done, Terry. Yes.
Yes. And look, firstly, let's go back to your grassroots. Even though you're not here to tell everyone about your magnificent coaching that you have done and all the things, but where were you born?
I was born in a country that does not exist anymore.
Oh, I feel that way about Australia, but that's a whole other story. What country are we talking about there?
I came from USSR.
Russia.
Just be happy where you are, back in the USSR, right?
Back in the USSR.
It's a billion involved, right?
Yeah.
Between Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
The longer it goes, the more complicated it is to answer.
It's true. But what a fascinating part of the world, honestly, in so many ways. You're very lucky. I think people will obviously put whatever tone they want to put on things. But to be frank with you, and I'm sure there was some adversity about coming from that part of the world. But at the same time, I mean, I look at the other side. Look at the history. Look at the tapestry of that part of Europe. Pretty amazing place to come from.
It is, yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Beautiful. And, you know, I met Yiliana at a workshop.
Okay.
And, you know, I was with Ian and we met and we sat down and had lunch together.
Okay.
Is that right? And then Yiliana began working with me and came into my community and became one of the NLP gurus.
Right.
But I remember one distinctive technique that you were a cracker at, and that was anchoring. Do you remember that anchoring moment, Yiliana, in the community back in Messenger's days in the clinic?
A few very nice moments, I remember.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about this then. So what was this great moment that was, that anchored so well, it was so memorable for you?
Yeah. Well, as I remember it, we were all standing in a circle and I asked one of the coaches that had done their certification in NLP to come forward. And so what we would do is we would begin to put emotions that were very empowering into the middle.
Okay.
So it might be excitement. You know, what do you want to feel?
Yeah.
You know, fun. You know, like joy.
Look at the passion in your face when you use those terms.
Yeah.
Doesn't it tell you just a little bit about the power of language, right?
Can I tell you something, though?
You can tell me anything.
I have not got a patch on this lady here.
Oh, really?
You ought to see her when she's doing it.
She's on fire.
I mean, she's a cracker. Like, you know, I remember this. Do you remember that moment? I just cannot get it out of my mind. But there we all were. There was about 17 of us, and you got everybody to get into the middle, but you were sort of rousing yourself up. So the whole point of it is to get that anchored into your body. So every cell and muscle of your body. Do you remember that?
I remember anchoring, but I can't recall which this particular time you're saying.
It was amazing. And oh my gosh, I mean, it was, you know, the old certification group that we were with, but you were just insane. I mean, it was just on fire. And of course, you can't come on the show without me doing a little bit of a promo here. But today, Yeliana is a magnificent hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist,
Nice.
a NLP practitioner. And am I allowed to say that you practice here in Perth, WA, and the city that you're practicing in?
Yep. Fremantle.
Well, otherwise it's a bit late because you just did.
Well,
right?
Fremantle. Let's go Fremantle, right?
Love Freo.
So, yes.
Oh, my misspent youth is Fremantle.
Yes.
Thank you, Fremantle. So many sins, but no, that was back in the days before we had mobile phones, so no evidence. It's fantastic. Love Fremantle.
Yes. So we will bring Yeliana on the show one time when, she's done podcasting with me and we've done a deep dive and all the rest of it. But just to kind of set the forum here, to the platform, we're talking about something that is a little bit more generic.
Okay.
So we're sort of not moving away from NLP, but we're moving into what everybody understands is sabotaging patterns. We all know that we've got them. And obviously, those sabotaging patterns are that voice in the mind that is on autoplay. So they've been set up since we were quite young.
Yep.
And there's two parts to the brain here that we're talking about in this particular theory. And that is the saboteur.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the mind, the monkey mind that goes, oh, you can't do that. You're not good enough.
Is this the little the little devil and the angel on the shoulders? Is that what it is?
Yes. Okay. Or the thing that, causes you to procrastinate, or the thing that causes you to sabotage your success, like you can't do this, you're going to fail.
Sure.
Everyone's going to judge you. Or, the morning rituals that everybody talks about that fall flat.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
Sometimes, might you, if you're going to self-sabotage, sometimes would it be you bringing particular people in your life who hold you back, bringing them into your life? Would that be a level of it?
Would it be that you brought them in, or did they come in as your greatest teachers? And so they were part of your life.
Look at you turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
But it's a great point. I mean, the old saying, we say it a million times, and I will say it till the cows come home, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Exactly. And that was not something that's not my phrase. I've stolen that one well and truly. And it's something, to me, that is one of the greatest lessons of my life.
Excellent.
Before I knew that.
Yeah. I think we all steal, our information and theories from somewhere.
Of course we do.
I mean, I didn't make NLP up. I'd love to say that I made up the saboteur and the sage mind, but that also comes from a professor and a scientist. And, it's about being able to switch off that sabotaging mind that is a little bit on autopilot. So, I have a habit of waking up in the morning because it's a habit and feeling rubbish.
No way.
Yeah. I feel rubbish when I wake up in the morning. Like, don't come near me. There used to be a joke when I was a teenager. Mum used to say, don't go near Terry, first thing in the morning.
She's terrible.
And I was terrifying, and just cranky. And I just had this thing. So I believed it, and I began to develop that system of belief
as
around
a personality.
it. So then you fulfill it. It becomes like a self-fulfilled prophecy. So the question is, Aaron, that's a little bit excessive, I will say, because I know a lot of people do wake up quite happy. Babies wake up happy.
Do they really?
And
they're always bloody
sometimes
kind.
They are, yeah. Well, you know how it is. So it's, how do we switch it off? Okay. And how can we, I guess, initiate positive patterns? Like I was asked on one of our shows, do you have any kind of patterns or anything that you can teach us that will help instill into our morning routine? And I never answered it. And the reason I never answered it is because morning routines quite often fall flat. When you've got someone saying, you've got to do it this way, you've got to do this, go for a run, go for a 6K jog, go and do this, journal, say 3 affirmations, and you've got this great big list of to-do things, and that part of our brain, because we're all rebels at heart, right?
I hope so.
you know. So we're sort of like, I ain't doing that, talk to the hand.
That's
right.
right.
I'm not doing
You
that.
tell me to do something. The more you tell me, the more I don't want to do it.
Exactly. So how do you turn that around? And especially in yourself. So how can we move from the saboteur to the sage mind? So in saying that, I'm going to go over to Yiliana for a question.
Cool.
One of the things that I have really put forward is that when people ask a question, you cannot ask a powerful question, even if it's to yourself, without getting an answer. It doesn't mean it's to say we're going to have the answer. You might not have the answer. I may not have the answer. But Yeliana will get the answer on the proviso that she asks it correctly. So this is going to help the audience in knowing how to position a question. But let's take it across to you for your question on sabotaging patterns and what you got.
So what is the question?
So your question to us that you would like to conquer, that you would like to really kind of delve into on the show and, really help to elevate.
Yeah, I think I'm observing this dynamic, and I think I'm very good with sabotaging, to the point that when I set my goals, I am not fully confident I'm going to reach them, even though I know I can. I start very well. I get all excited. I get certain progress done, and then it stops. It's just in its tracks.
Okay.
Sitting there, so I don't reach that fullest. I sit somewhere in the process, and I try different ways to break it, but it's like it's somewhere in my psychology that's happening.
So inside your psychology, you are the person putting the roadblocks up, yeah?
Yes, I do. I stop myself in my tracks.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like is that you get excited about something, you go to do it, and you go forward, and you're very good at initiating it, but you're not finishing it. Is that correct? Okay, so that is the issue. So somewhere along the line, and I'm not a great finisher either. So there's a lot in common between myself and Yeliana, just by the way. She's one of my people. And we're just so similar in our value system. So your value system and the way you actually roll there is a reason, okay? So firstly, you have a sabotaging pattern where for some reason, before you get to the end, or even it doesn't matter whether you're at the beginning or the middle, but you stop. But the question would be, and you may not, be able to necessarily answer this right now, but at what point do you find yourself stopping?
Usually when I
pauses.
So I will be working very passionately until I get traction. And when I get traction and it is time to like switch the gear, oh, that's lovely. Time of,
you, girl.
I can talk how many minutes do I have? I'll just let you enjoy.
Go for it.
We're going to give you the floor. Go for it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because I don't stop until I get some traction. But when I get some initial positive feedback, good vibes, and things are starting in progress, and it's the time for whether it's put the systems in or scaling up or getting bigger marketing, then it stops.
And you would probably notice that is a pattern that happens across your life as well. Because I know that I'm very much the same. So in the deepest part of the psychology, there is a very higher purpose for the fact that you do not want to finish. Now, I'm going to suggest that something may have happened in your youth where you did come to an end with something, and it may have been devastating in the relevance of whatever situation you were in at the time. You may know and you may not know exactly when and what that was. You could have been a 3-year-old child, but something came to an end. It could have been something really exciting and really good, but when that came to an end, I'm just giving an example here, and then all of a sudden it stopped. So the excitement stopped. So what does that saboteur do? Well-meaningly, it says, hey, Eliana, you don't want this to go away. You don't want this to come to an end. So let's not finish.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes
That's
sense.
just, yeah, it
How
does a
dare
little
you
bit.
make sense? I mean, that's so, that hits a real point with me, because I think a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us do this. We get to a point where we're kind of like, okay, I'm happy on this ride. I'm going to guess it comes from growing up and your childhood.
Did you grow up?
No. I've heard about the growing up. Adulting, 1 out of 5 stars on Yelp. I'm telling you, I don't want it. No, I'm not interested.
So overrated.
So overrated. But I think that when we're growing up, though, we do, okay, we put those roadblocks up and we go, I'm too happy at the moment. Oh, hang on, I don't want to be successful, right? Even though we want to be successful, we kind of stop on the ladder, I guess.
Yeah. And that's just one thing. And as you know, Yeliana, as a hypnotherapist, it is our role to give little metaphors and stories that it could be something else. It could have been a situation, on the other hand, where we perceive that finishing something is a bad thing for whatever reason. So, I quite often look at Arthur and the Stone. Do you know that story about the sword?
No.
And that one.
Yes,
the sword,
sorry.
and
stuck in the old rock. That one,
and it's stuck in the rock. Yeah. And so the wise person says to him, so what happens while it's stuck in the rock? What are you actually doing? And he has to go deep inside. So we go deep within, and then he comes up with, well, I'm getting frustrated, and he goes, and then what? So all the clean language questions. And then what do you do? Well, I start to get really, really angry, and I start to get so frustrated that, I start burning with rage. And then he says, and then what do you do after that? He says, well, it comes to a point where I get so overwhelmed and exasperated that I stop.
So it's exhaustion rather than any other motivation.
He stops. But then guess what happens?
What's that?
And he says, well, what happens after that? And he says, I go back. And I guess he doesn't say it, but it's in a kind of an enlightenment of surrender.
Okay.
And I pulled the sword out. So it kind of happened when he surrendered and when he was able to kind of let it all go.
There's such a truth to that, because when you do surrender, in my opinion, when you surrender to things, when you kind of go, oh, geez, I wish I could put this into words. That'd be handy. But it's kind of like when you're trying to force something to happen, it doesn't happen.
Yes.
When you release that pressure from yourself, guess what? It lines up. It happens.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing. I mean, I'm sure the stone, and you've got the sword stuck in the stone. Personally, I'd get an angle grinder. That's just me, right?
Yeah.
But back in those days, couldn't do this.
Yeah,
Just do what you need to. But no, I joke and I jest. But the reality is, you're right. Like sometimes you put so much effort into things. You push, and you get so close and so intent in it that you're actually pushing it away rather than bringing it closer.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, the question I would have for you, Yeliana, because as you know, we don't have the answers, you have the answer. And that is that, what do you believe would happen if you did finish? Now, you don't have to answer this on the show, but if you were to carry on through and go right forward to actually executing what it is that you want, what would happen, and what is the story that you're telling yourself? But then bringing it back to the reality of the here and now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about integrating and giving yourself acknowledgement for how far you've come. You see, if a person is going along, it's like a child. If a child is going along and they're trying really, really hard to accomplish something, but nobody's actually giving them any kind of recognition for it. So they're trying and trying and trying, but they don't feel a sense that they're being appreciated. So my question is, are you appreciating yourself? So, for every milestone, like I guarantee the kind of person that you are, I would say if you ran the test, and I will give you the test as part of coming on the show and just being so, courageous to come on the show, is what your saboteurs are. And I will put $100 on it, or some credit off a session, that one of your highest saboteurs, and it sounds like, is that really a saboteur, would be that you would be a high achiever. Now, high achievers have got a terrible habit of not finishing things and also not appreciating and integrating what they've accomplished. So they just keep going, they keep going, they keep going.
Just and then they nailed it, haven't you? You really have. Like, to me, like, that's true. You don't, well, I'm speaking for me here, right? And I consider myself someone who I just want to keep succeeding. I want to move forward and all of that. Moving forward is incredibly important, right? But I don't actually appreciate my wins on the way. I'm very much focused on that goal. So I don't enjoy the steps. Really simple as that.
Well, I would put $100 on it for you too, high achiever, definitely.
Give it a crack.
And, the high achiever is very hard on themselves.
Yeah.
They're very, very hard on themselves, and they do not stop to appreciate. And if you'll find that it's in the moments of when you pause and you actually take time to smell the flowers. And this will lead me into the sage mindset. Okay. And that is that you really require to move from the doing and the feeling like you've got to be doing, into that beautiful present state of self-awareness. And I'm going to ask you a question. Like, if I asked you tomorrow morning to do one thing for 10 seconds, 10 seconds, now how hard is that? 10 seconds, is that a long time?
Depends on who you talk.
10 seconds. What could you do, Yeliana, that would be a no-brainer for you in the morning? I'll share mine after you share yours.
I've played this game.
And tell me, what could you do for 10 seconds that you could do? No-brainer, no problem at all, but it's something that's very present tense and it's simple and it's okay.
For 10 seconds, like I do my prayer, and I find stretching is really lovely in the morning. So I take time to do stretches.
Okay.
And more than 10 seconds, being in that present moment and, yes, appreciating and enjoying.
Yeah.
Appreciating things is such a massive part of life, right? And it's something where I fall down on this. So this is a part of my life I'm actually trying to improve.
Yeah.
And somebody in my past who was not a good person to me, but used to actually really have a go and be very nasty, very cruel to me about the fact that I wouldn't appreciate things. Right? Appreciate what I've got, because that person, she didn't understand that I need more. Right? I need to keep moving forward, but she also was very right. Okay, you've got to be right about these things. You've got to accept the fact of the failures in your own personality. And in that case, I was not accepting the fact that I should be enjoying the ride.
Exactly. Right? Yes. Yeah. So you've got to integrate a little bit. That's been my weakness. And I'll hedge bets that all three of us are in this category. Right. That high achiever doesn't stop to smell the roses, keeps going, okay, I've accomplished that. Instead of going, hey, I did that, you're just like, what is the next thing? And what's the next thing? And, that's what you're doing. But coming back to the 10-second rule, if you can do anything that is okay with you for 10 seconds. So, for example, deep breathing. So we all breathe, right? But if we can literally wake up in the morning and say, right, okay, sage brain, let's switch on, because this is about you rewiring your brain and doing that without having a subconscious coach, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner. This is something everybody can do. And so I personally go, right, I'm going to breathe 3 times, but I'm going to do a proper breath. I'm going to, breathe in through my nose, and then I'm going to breathe out through my mouth. And so what happens there is there's a pattern interruption.
Okay.
And so we can teach on pattern interruptions for how long, Yeliana? You know that there's whole modalities around reframes, pattern interruptions,
right,
and all this kind of jazz. So you can do this, and by actually choosing, I'm going to breathe for 10 seconds. That is a pattern interruption. Now, you mentioned stretching, and I actually do that too. I don't go to the gym much anymore. And I find it, again, when people feel like there's rules, they tend to break them.
Ain't that the truth?
But that's what it's all about, right?
Of course,
rules are there to be broken.
Is about.
So when you do, the only difference I would say to you, Yeliana, and as I said, I'm going to give you a whole PDF on this, as a thank you for coming on the show. So the only difference between what you're already doing is that you are consciously moving into it to rewire your brain by waking up in the morning and saying, okay, let's breathe for 10 seconds, because the reason that the wheels fall off big time around people achieving stuff is because it seems so overwhelming, and you can only eat the elephant one bite at a time, Aaron.
I actually want to give Elena, however, you pronounce it so much better than I do. Lovely, beautiful name. I have a tongue like, I don't know, an elephant. But like for me, I'll give you a little silly example. Today I had to leave and I was in a big hurry. I had a lot going on, right? So I figured I'm going to eat breakfast as I drive. So I've got the coffee sitting in the car. I've made myself a little, something I can eat with one hand, and away we go, right? I'm driving down the road and I'm eating my breakfast. It's so healthy, such a great way to do it. But guess what I did that was different?
What was it? You say it's so healthy. What was it?
No, it was a muffin. It was a muffin. Okay, and when I say it was so healthy, I say that tongue very much in cheek, right? But that's what I was eating, and I had a muffin and a coffee for breakfast. So I'm doing an English muffin. So I'm doing that. But here's what's different here is, as I was driving along, rather than me just going getting into it because I was in a hurry and I was just trying to get it all done, I actually took your advice and I was like consciously eating. I took
Beautiful.
while you're driving, right? So I was taking that moment. I go, no. You know what? I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy this. I might be multitasking. Yes, men can multitask, right? I was multitasking, but I took the moment. It's a stupid example, but why I bring it up is because for me, so often in life, I've thought, okay, you know what? I see people meditating. I see people doing these sorts of things. I see them taking these times to better themselves. Well, I'm too busy for that. I haven't got time for that. Well, guess what? I'm driving along right there, doing my thing. And every time I grab fifth gear, well, guess what? I was consciously taking that moment.
Beautiful. And that is called a reframe.
Right.
And also the acknowledgement, which brings me to saying, so Yeliana, firstly, the element of you not finishing something, I mean, obviously there is a point of time when you sort of let the wheels fall off, okay? But when that happens next time, can I set you a challenge? Would I be able to do this?
Sure.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to choose something that is going to be very significant for you, not just, any old thing that you really don't care about, but I want you to set a thing that you want to create and achieve for yourself. Now, when you do it, I want you to acknowledge every step of the way what you're achieving every step of the way. Now, when you get to that part, And isn't it interesting how she gets to this part where she suddenly decides to stop? Okay.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So you suddenly decide to stop. What I want you to do is I want you to do a complete reframe, and I want you to go on the side of your saboteur. I want you to go and actually write down every good reason why you are stopping, why you are not continuing. So you are actually taking the side of the saboteur. Okay. And then I want you to acknowledge every single thing that you have achieved leading up. And that's when you can flick the switch and ask yourself the question, what is the worst thing that could happen here if I finish? What is the best thing that could happen here if I finish?
I know if I don't finish, I become very frustrated.
Okay. So you like to, you're a closer. You like to.
I want things closed.
You want things closed.
Yeah.
Okay. So for Yeliana, you need to look at that there is a reason for this cycle, and you've got to be able to really appreciate everything leading up. But I would now say to you that thank you for coming onto the show. I'm going to give you actually a PDF on this, and I'm also going to ask you to be accountable to me so that you can share with me what you're going to set your task on to achieve. And the only thing with that is when it comes to that the wheels are about to fall off and you decide to stop, I want you to be honest with yourself and let me know. How does that sound?
Okay. Sounds good.
We have a deal?
We have a deal, Julio. And are you going to come onto the show and represent one of your greatest techniques sometime in the future?
Yes, why not?
Why not indeed?
But we can bring her in. She can, yes.
Oh, come and get comfy on the couch. Why not? Let's do this. Do it properly.
Let's do that.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you there. I really appreciate your input and your questions. And, yeah, let's get you in and let's have a bit of a deep dive, right?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Excellent. Oh, sorry, I cut you short.
That's okay. All good.
Fantastic. All right. Well, what we're going to do is
we've got time for a couple of questions.
We're going to sneak in a question. Why not?
Let's not.
But let's
do it.
Let's say goodbye. Do it properly.
Okay, Yeliana, I will talk to you real soon, and I can't wait to have you on the show.
How good's that? Easy as that. Let's jump into these questions because there are a few. I think I only got time for probably.
Well, you just pull one out of the.
Okay, let's just do this. Let's just bring it up.
Let's not favour anyone.
No, let's go wild. Okay, now Jeremy from California love, baby. I follow the morning miracle and many other routines that are fantastic. How do I discipline myself? It's staying on track with it.
Trust you to pick the hardest question. My goodness, yes. The Morning Miracle is absolutely amazing. It's a book about a guy who reinvented himself after having a major car accident.
Oh, wow.
Where he literally couldn't do anything. He was crippled. He couldn't walk. He couldn't talk. And he rebuilt himself through his Morning Miracle.
Okay.
And this is where probably what you've heard me talk about with our guest on the show will really help you. And what I'm going to say to you is that the reason that quite often the wheels do fall off, Jeremy, is because we set our targets to be in a position where we think, oh, I can't do that, or I failed today, I'll do it tomorrow. So you procrastinate, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes, right?
Oh, it does. But then we push it on to the next day and the next day.
Yeah, and it keeps going and going until finally you are in that sabotage. So this is where I want to pull you right back and say, choose the one thing, start actually recoding and rewiring your own brain. And the way to recode and rewire your own brain is by doing that when you wake up in the morning, choosing just one thing, 10 seconds. That's
10
all I'm
seconds.
asking. Now, there's a little bit of psychology behind that because it's so easy. It's, like I will swing my body a little in the morning, like I'll move my body and like what, Yeliana was talking about, I'll stretch, but it's easy. And I know that, I'm not having to run a mile around the block, I'm not having to journal for, an hour. So by saying to myself, it's like a child. If it's doable, you're saying, if you can do this for 10 seconds, I'm going to reward you.
Okay.
So as you do this, what you're then doing is you are sneakily rewiring your own brain. So you're just creating that, 10-second rule. So what's the 10-second rule going to be for you? So instead of giving yourself a great big list, do that. And then perhaps through the course of the day, choose something that you do spend 10 seconds doing. Okay. And because then it becomes that anchor of, oh, this is the change. This is the new pillar that you're putting into place that's creating change. And it's 10 seconds. So you might, some people might set an alarm, for example. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, you might do that breath work for 10 seconds or that stretch for 10 seconds or even a glass of water.
So changing your routines can be that 10 seconds at a time.
It doesn't even have to be a change as long as it is very neutral, that you're conscious. And like what you said about the muffin, you were conscious about that. So, a big pat on the back.
Thank you so much.
Because,
put cream cheese on it and everything was fantastic.
And then you talk and you say, I metabolize everything I eat to be the perfect size for my body. And then boom, I mean, look.
There might be a little fib in that line.
Look, belief systems are so powerful. And we have a guest coming on the show next week and talking about belief systems being miracle. She will talk about the strength of a belief system being so out of this world that someone actually, she won't state it for herself, but someone cured themselves of terminal cancer through this. So she's going to come on the show.
Don't tell
me
more. That's enough. Okay. That's enough. Okay. We'll. You need the. We'll be back after this short break. Build up the anticipation. Why not? Yeah. Well, Jeremy, thanks for the question, mate. Really appreciate that. I mean, like as a guy over the age of 50, quite frankly, I look forward to morning miracles. It's a positive thing for me. So let's jump into our next question. And I reckon this is the only one we'll just have to stop it at 2 today. Okay. So let's jump into now. This is Jane from Queensland. Wonderful set of Queenslander here. Yeah, good old Australia. Now, Jane finds herself, let's see, she sees, I find myself overeating, especially when I'm stressed. Can I develop habits which will assist with this? Now, straight up.
You said it, you nailed it. So, what Aaron said, okay, so somebody might go, oh my gosh, he's eating a burger while he's driving and he's like,
it was a muffin.
But, we can reframe that. And the reframe is number one. I didn't just do that because I was in a rush and I was, just eating mindlessly, but I did it to leverage my time.
Yep.
So there's the
way you sell it.
Reframe.
Yeah, to yourself.
Yeah, it's not about selling it to the world.
100%.
It's about selling it to yourself.
Yeah.
So you reframed it. So I'm leveraging my time. I'm eating this muffin and I'm at one with it.
I was hungry and I was in a hurry. So I reframed it as being, I'm being efficient. And I'm also, apart from being efficient with my time, because my time is valuable, I go, okay, I'm being efficient but I'm also going to live the experience. I'm like, this tastes pretty good. I'm going to go, I'm not just going to consume because I need to consume, right? I'm going to consume because I want to enjoy the experience. And that's kind of, I would throw this point to Jane is that, because I completely identify with this. We all do this. Not all, but a lot of people, we overeat when we're stressed, okay? So developing, it's a very bad habit. Got it right here, so I completely understand. But if you eat purposefully, that will change everything. In my opinion, that is the experience. Now, I did an experiment years ago with myself, and I decided I would only actually eat if I was hungry.
Well, didn't I tell you that in one of our shows, mister?
Oh, jeez, she's so pushy with her opinions here. I don't know. It's true, though.
What are those 5? Do you remember the 5?
No, I'm not good
Maybe
with counting.
we can share with Jane.
Okay,
Shall we
well,
share
let's
with
do
Jane?
that. Absolutely. Tell Jane
and
all
look,
about
Aaron,
this.
Aaron is the leading ambassador here on it. Number 1, Jane, eat when you are hungry. Eat until and continue eating until you feel good. Stop when you feel good and eat consciously, like what Aaron just said. However, let's do a little pattern interruption here.
Okay.
And it links in with some very scientific stuff that Paul McKenna, he created a program called I Can Make You Thin with My Words. But hey guys, I can help you out here as well. So, I practice these elements, and the fact is that what you require to do is the 10-second rule again.
Okay.
So,
and that's not just when you drop something on the floor.
Yeah.
It's a whole different rule.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not about dropping that burger and then picking it up and eating it because 10 seconds didn't pass by. So no, what you've got to do is, like, let's just say, okay, ask yourself 10 seconds, am I really hungry? Do I really feel hungry? Because, the way you've got to look at it is it's what a waste of a good body.
I've never thought of it that way.
Well, that's the way I change people's perception, because that's what I do.
There you go.
What a waste of a good body. And the other one that I would say is, hey, do you go put petrol in your car sometimes? Geez, I did it twice this week. Petrol was crazy. And then it was 200 on yesterday, and the day before it was 150, and I was putting diesel in. So I had 2 cars and 2 issues. But anyway, getting back to it, do you put petrol in your car?
Obviously.
Okay. And, Jane, do you put petrol in your car? So then let me ask you this. When you fill your car up, and if you're anything like me, I'm very strategic about, I'm only putting $30 in it. Blow this for a joke. It's blooming $2 a litre. I'm putting $30 in. So when you do put petrol in your car, do you immediately go out of the petrol station and go down the road and fill your car up again?
Obviously not. That's
exactly.
crazy.
So why would you do that to your body?
Damn it. You've beaten me with a car story. You've hit me with car logic. I can't have that. Ain't that the truth? Like, honestly, when I change my habit a bit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not great on this. I go, I'm good for a while and then I stop. But yeah, we're refining the beast, right? But when you're hungry, you really will blow your mind. You're not hungry that often. You're just not.
Good.
Yeah.
There's a few metaphors I could put around this, right? But it's good to want it, if you get my drift. But I love being hungry.
Are we talking about food again? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Here's the thing. I love being hungry.
Okay.
And because to me it's a waste eating really good food if I'm not hungry. And food tastes good, and you've got to learn to taste it. And the 10-second rule is just allow yourself that ability to take 10 seconds, Jane, to ask yourself one of those questions. Am I hungry? Do I really want this? What am I really feeling like? Perhaps you don't want to ask yourself any questions. Then why not take a deep breath like I mentioned before, or something else? And you'll find that that is a great pattern interruption. And, also if you have been listening to this show and you would like to know more about this, I've created a little workbook on it. So you can hit me up and I will send you the workbook on it. It's only a small one. It's not a big, long thing.
Is that the one that we've got outside, the workbook there?
No, that's just one of the many.
That's a cool book.
You've got no idea how many I've got.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Okay. Get into the printing business. This girl will keep you busy. It's fantastic.
It's just another, I am a content creatrix. So yeah, if you want it, just come and ask me, DM me, and I'll drop a PDF in your inbox.
Too good. All right. I think it is time for us to say goodbye. As usual, we've gone over time because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
We have control issues here. What can I say?
I know. We'll have to do the 10-second rule next time.
Will. You're right. I want to actually thank everyone who's been involved. I've actually noticed there's been points coming through and questions and statements and all sorts of goodies on the other feeds. I look forward to looking at those through the week because it's always a bit of a pleasure to go.
Might be a bit scary.
Backtrack. It could be. Could be. Do remember, of course, if you are in Western Australia, in Perth, and you would like to contribute to the show or talk about your story, hey, we would love to have you here as a guest. So we are right here in Mount Lawley, nice and central, easy to find. But if you need to find this woman, how would you do such
Great
a thing?
vibe. Well, you can hit me up on social media, Terry Messenger, Terry with an I, and also website is terrymessenger.com. And I have a calendar there. Book a call with me. It'll be free roadmap for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And the rest will be history.
Easy as that. Thank you to those who have sent through questions that we haven't got to. I do apologize for that, but it is so good to see them, and we will obviously talk about those in future shows. Thank you for being part of the Genius Zone here at Edge Radio Australia.